has had Lyme disease? So maybe 30–40% of the people here. Who here knows someone personally with Lyme disease? Like every hand goes up then, right? How many people do you know treated or have treated it successfully with herbal medicine? Herbal medicine. You have. So I've been working with Lyme disease and herbal medicine for 15 years. And I'm going to say that you can arrive at a place where you have no active spirochetes. So people say, is that a cure? My response is, I don't think so. So I don't think that you can kill all the spirochetes off because they're so capable of hiding where there is no blood flow. They get into old scar tissue, connective tissue. You know, they hide so close to your joints that they're not right in the joint, they're in the connective tissue that's holding the joint together. So it feels like the joint when it's not really the joint, right? So herbal medicine, I found, is more effective at killing spirochetes than actual antibiotics, but not as fast. So antibiotics are really, I think, first defense for people who are weak, and people who are stronger could consider a different approach. Why I say that is if you already have poor health and you get hit with Lyme disease, you go down harder and faster than the person who's sturdy. That's almost just what nature does anyway. Those that are strong can stand up under a lot of duress, and those that are weak go down with it. I see two major fields in Lyme disease. One is neurological. So there'll be a lot of seizures and spasming and tics, a whole range in that side, and not what you'd think as in brain fog. Brain fog's actually over in the digestive Lyme. So what I see clinically is about 70–80% digestive and about 20–25% neurological. And neurological is very tough to treat because it's literally messing with the nerve system itself. And I think the worst case I've had would be a young lady who was spasming and having seizures 4 times a day, 4 seizures a day. Some of them lasted 2 to 2.5 hours. She can't tolerate any medications anymore. Her body cannot tolerate, if you gave her an antibiotic, she will fold up in pain with small doses now. She can't tolerate medications. So all her treatments are through essential oils, through herbal medicine, homeopathy, food, and lifestyle. So this young lady is in her 8th year now of dealing with this, and most of the time she sits around really with nothing more to do than that because she doesn't have much energy. She's gone from only sitting around, if she walked out to the garden and came back in, that was a 2-hour nap. No, it's serious. So now she actually cooks her own food, she does her own laundry, she makes her own bed. So she's basically capable of almost taking care of herself, but she still has all of these ramifications from having had Lyme disease. So I start sometimes just with let's kill spirochetes to see if it changes the symptom pattern within the next 2 or 3 days. And if they're active, the pattern starts to shift. And then we can actually then treat the person. If you go to your acupuncturist, which is the place that you will see this most openly, they feel your pulse, they look at your tongue, they've looked at you as you walked in, and out of that assessment of all of you, they begin the treatment. And the treatment is based on your whole presentation. So I'm interested if someone says to me, I go, how well do you sleep? They go, not well. And that's their answer. And I'm waiting for more information. I go, so what does not well mean? They go, well, I'm restless. Come on, give me more information. Are you restless between 1 and 3, or are you restless all night long? Are you not falling asleep? Are you waking up too early? Do you wake up tired? Like there's a whole range of questions that define who you are with your sleep. The answers narrow me into which organ is most imbalanced that's causing your sleep issue. Right? So it could be your nervous system, but it also could equally be your liver that's so out of balance it wakes you up between 1 and 3. Anyone who wakes up between 1 and 3 usually has a liver imbalance. right? So these are just, in a sense, after a while, these are the facts of the pattern. Once you know the organ related to the pattern, the way someone gets pain, sharp pain, dull pain, where you get a headache, around the eyes, forehead, back of the head, top of the head, whole head, right? Every detail matters when you're looking at a natural system of medicine. Every detail. So by the time that a person has walked into the room, I've already begun my assessment, because you have a physical body. The shape of you, the color of your hair, the sound of your voice, the whites of your eyes, the color of your skin, how you sit, how you move, how you talk, the words you use, right? Within 5 minutes of just having a friendly conversation, I probably know most of your imbalances. And then I look at your tongue, because the tongue is an image of the inside of the body. And from that image, there are certain indicators that are always there. And so if this sign is there, it's easy to say to the person, oh, you worry all the time, don't you? And they never said anything about worrying, but the sign is there for worry, and they will inevitably go, yes, how do you know that I worry? But it's just a sign, and that's what it means. So that's how we get to an individualized treatment for every single person. Lyme disease has one formula. I have a formula for Lyme disease. It's called a spirochete killer. It's an anti-spirochete formula. It does a lot of other wonderful things, but its purpose is to kill spirochetes. Once I then move my attention from the spirochetes to you, I need to know where your organ weaknesses are. Is the weakness in the liver primarily, the heart primarily, kidneys? Is it all main organ systems that are weak and not working well? And the degree to which you suffer will show up on the tongue. Right? So you see liver. So if I think about it, you see kidneys, large intestine, small intestine, stomach, lungs, heart, nervous system, liver, gallbladder, circulation. Too much heat in the body, stagnation. You know, it leads then to other questions. So certain signs lead to questions like, you get headaches? And the person says yes or no. If it's headaches, then we start digging into what kind, when do they come, how do they manifest? And headaches generally, you know, for this kind of medicine, people suffer for years, and I'm so disappointed they never found this medicine, because usually in 3 months there's no headaches. 20 years of headaches and 3 months no headaches. That's 90% of the people we treat. So for me, the problem with the medicines that they're taking or aiming at Lyme disease, the focus is still about the spirochete and how it does its damage, instead of about the person who has to overcome the damage. We've sort of created a situation in the entire world where we are constantly trying to kill back that which we think wants to take over, and we've never taken a long enough look to see that maybe the taking over is only in the beginning, and that later on it finds balance. So Lyme disease, for me, my whole approach to it is, how do we deal with it in the beginning? Because the real healing is you finding balance with this thing that will be with you potentially for the rest of your life. But if you don't have it rise up to give you symptoms that are bothersome, then it's just like it's on for the journey, and who cares? Right? You have bacteria currently, every one of us would have bacteria that if we cultivated them from our intestinal tract, it would kill us. The concoction that we could come up with would actually kill us. But the population is so mellow in there with everybody else that we get to function and carry around all of these friendly bacteria and not so friendly bacteria, and we're doing fine. So the way I see it is, as long as nature's balance is kept, you don't really have to worry about having a Lyme diagnosis in the long run. And therefore you're not Lyme disease, you just happen to be one more person who's going to carry it around. So my belief is you will never ever eradicate it. And in fact, the thought of eradicating it is actually, to me, sort of like really misspent energy. Because too often, what's their method of eradication is to kill. They want to kill. So if we kill a certain, like if we killed all the mosquitoes, we just took away food for certain birds and insects, I guess. You know, so I look at it like that, that there's nothing that is here that shouldn't be here, And we get to bear the brunt of it because we messed with the environment enough. So all of these things that seem to be so environmentally related, we have invited in as a culture and as a humanity. We invited it. You know, it's an opportunity. So I see Lyme disease like this wonderful opportunity to wake up to life. If you're going to live with it, you may as well make the best friends with it, because otherwise it's always a fight, always a resistance. But once you understand how to treat yourself with it, it shows up, and rather than it being, not again, it's more like, oh, wow, last time I knocked that out in 15 minutes, let me see if I can do it in 10. It sort of becomes just part of your journey as opposed to always something to fear. And, you know, I don't know that it'll ever be possible to eradicate it. You know, when we start eradicating, we tend to create a new problem. So Lyme disease gets your attention fully. It immobilizes people. It's a painful, difficult process to get through for some people, and it's a breeze for others. But whatever it is, whatever a condition is called a disease that has caused you to have less ability to do what you want, requires your full attention. And it's not about resisting it, it's actually about understanding it so that it isn't a problem. The thing about treating the body is that the emotions that you have relative to Lyme disease are indicating organ imbalances that you can also harmonize. And I use these words very purposefully. You're not treating a disease, you're bringing an organ back to its harmony, not to balance. The word balance seems to imply that it's got a center point that's perfect. But nature is not a center point. Nature's this floating medium. Health is a floating medium. It never ever gets stable, and it never goes static. It's the very fact that it is floating, that's its advantage. It can mobilize fast. So your health will never be flatline health, right? Because if you just get the right food poisoning, no matter how healthy you are, you get food poisoning. Right? So, but your reaction to it and your recovery will be very different if you're healthy than the person who's not. That's where maintaining your health becomes just your life's journey. People ask me, how do you find a good herbalist? How do you find a good acupuncturist? How do you find a good naturopath? How do you find a good surgeon? Whoever you want can be at the end of the sentence, all right? And the answer remains the same. Find someone who's got 20 years of experience who's still in practice. That's the bottom line. If they're still in practice at 20 years, they've learned something, right? And the second thing is you have to resonate with them. So basically every person who becomes what we call a patient in my practice, they have the right to leave anytime they want, obviously, and I remind them, you're here because you choose to be, not because I say you have to be. But it's really you who's in charge of your journey. I'm just in charge of the things that you don't yet know. Right? The journey is for you to learn things that you don't see about yourself and your condition. So really I'm just here as a guide, and my goal is that you learn enough on the journey that you can now take care of yourself, and I become your secondary, sort of your backstop, as opposed to I'm the person you need. I believe that if I could teach you that, then you will help other people with Lyme disease or something else. And we could maybe undermine the pharmaceutical companies by doing that, right? Right? Because to me, the medicine is to be shared. As I have this sign in my office, and I wrote it up about 3 months ago, and it says, herbal medicine is democratic medicine. Because it is actually if you take the word democratic back to its origin and forget the political parties that like to use language to their own advantage, right? Democratic means it's everybody. It's truly everybody's medicine. So if I can teach you, and you can teach, and you can teach, and we just keep that going, we literally take medicine back into our own hands.